2, 3.
Ambassador, thank you very much for this. I guess, first of all, how can the Irish education system expand and develop its focus on active citizenship to reflect the 17 SDGs?
Well, Gary, Ireland already has a national strategy on education for sustainable development, and indeed the forum is part of that. This strategy has been in place since 2014, more or less in line with the timing of the SDGs themselves, which were adopted, as you know, in September 2015, but which were negotiated over the last couple of years. So the strategy focuses on 8 particular areas, and the challenge now will be for the Irish education system to, in effect, map its existing work on things like curriculum development or teacher training, or indeed higher education and research, against the precise outcomes of the SDGs themselves. Communicating the new goals and targets is vital. I see that ECHO UNESCO is introducing a new teacher training scheme which hopes to bring the SDGs into the classroom and in Ireland, and indeed I very much welcome that. The Irish government in implementing the SDGs will be hoping very much that youth can play a key role. It was on the minds of negotiators as we brought the 2030 agenda negotiations to a conclusion, and in fact I as Irish co-facilitator helped to sharpen the focus on the role of youth. Right. And lastly, I would say that when the Irish Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade, Charlie Flanagan, was in New York this September, he met the current President of the General Assembly, and one of the topics they considered was how to bring news of the SDGs, as it were, to the attention of young people worldwide, and with a particular focus on education in the classrooms.
That might be easier with this generation of digital natives, be able to get them online and understanding this sooner than later, hopefully. So in the action plan for education, creating sustainable jobs with good prospects is prioritized as central to the Irish ambition as a nation. Are there opportunities, economic, entrepreneurial opportunities, that you think the education system should look at for its learners that would incorporate a sustainable development approach?
Well, it's clear that achieving the SDGs will require input from a range of actors, from the research sector, science and technology, innovation and data, and also a large number of services such as education, healthcare and infrastructure development. All of these require us to bring the widest possible set of skills and knowledge to bear on the problems which face us all. And as we in Ireland and elsewhere get ready to tackle the challenges of the 21st century, there's an obligation on our education system to produce the scientists, teachers, engineers and other professionals and technicians who will be needed in order to achieve full implementation of the new goals. In this way, we hope to get the double benefit of creating sustainable jobs and also contributing to achieving this new global agenda.
You put a lot of emphasis on the multi-stakeholder input for this, and that's kind of reflected, isn't it, in this, the need to look at it from that perspective?
Indeed, the what was new about the SDG negotiations at the UN was the agreement by all countries, by all 193 member states, that they will only be implemented if you have a multi-stakeholder approach spanning governments, but also civil society, the academic community, science and research, and the private sector. You have to have a multiplicity of players acting in partnerships in order to achieve the individual goals. That was quite new. During the MDG phase, there was a greater sense that this is for member states alone to do. Now we recognise that the scale of the 2030 agenda is such that the goals cannot be achieved other than with this multiplicity of actors.
That seems to be reflected too in the National Strategy for Education, which highlighted a key objective to provide learners with the knowledge, disposition, skills, and values that will motivate them and empower them to become active citizens and take measures to live more sustainable futures, so multi-stakeholder lives that they're living. What do you think that means, and how do you think technology can help achieve that?
Well, I think that the education system in Ireland and elsewhere has enormous potential to create the active citizens of the future. Of course, there's a particular responsibility on teachers to drive that effort, and bringing the SDGs into the classroom, helping students to understand this new global agenda and how they can play a role in achieving it, both nationally and internationally. All of that will help to foster this sense of active citizenship. I mean, the education system can empower students, young people who otherwise might lack opportunities. It can motivate them, and it can help to translate the fine words on the page into real achievements over the next 15 years. The role of technology is vital, and I have to say that during the negotiations which produced the 2030 Agenda, there was a very strong recognition of the fact that we will all benefit from social media, for example, as a means of generating data. In order to help to implement the new goals. So social media will help to create networks which will spread awareness of the SDGs and the fact that they will be guiding all of our efforts over the next 15 years. But they will also be a means of generating the information and data which will be essential if we are to implement this integrated agenda. Right. I mean, clearly, if we are emphasizing the interconnections between health and education and access to water and environment, we need to have the most sophisticated and disaggregated data possible from all the 193 countries. Social media and information technology more widely have the capacity to actually fast forward the provision of those data. So that's just one example of where we're not simply going to get by with the traditional methods of collecting statistics. We need to find ways of generating big data to cover the much more challenging agenda which the world has now set itself.
And harnessing that technology as a tool, really, to achieve
exactly. And but
goals.
I've no doubt that the young people of today will respond instantly to the potential of technology in relation to the SDGs. I mean, one example is that when the new agenda was being adopted in New York in September 2015, various groups of young people who came from different parts of the world to attend the summit showed that they were immediately on top of the new agenda. They had almost memorized it. They knew the individual goals, and the concept of sustainable development, for example, was instantly familiar to them. So a lot of that comes through use of tools such as social media.
We call them digital natives. So let's
natives
cheers to the
indeed.
digital natives, and cheers to you, Ambassador, for your role in making sure that science, technology, and innovation were part of this, but the focus on education essential.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.